market strategy. I'll explain why I think you need to stop using Google and that ditching Google services will improve your situation. This suggestion doesn't apply to small businesses which simply cannot choose to opt out of the world's monopoly search engine. Not using Google services as a business is a financial suicide. As a user, however, Google does you more harm than good, as its aggressive abuse of search monopoly motivates the company to sacrifice quality of relevant search results for money-generating relevant advertising. I'm going to demonstrate how, through various practices of search manipulation, everything Google shows you is an advertisement bubble to sell you clicks, downloads, and purchases, and why that's a problem in the information age. Google entered the realm of World Wide Web as a gateway to the internet. Similarly to the internet service providers giving people connection via internet access, Google was giving people that essential connection from their home devices to websites from the entire global network. Google wasn't the first search engine in the world, but without it, looking for content on the internet was slow, complicated, and nothing close to neutral or relevant. It had an advantage that allowed it to quickly overcome its competitors and turn into a tech giant within few years. In 2004, co-founder of Google, Larry Page, criticized other search engines for prioritizing their own content rather than relevant search results. Quoting Larry, "Most portals show their own content above content elsewhere on the web. We feel that's a conflict of interest, analogous to taking money for search results. Their search engine doesn't necessarily provide the best results. It provides the portal's results. Google consciously tries to stay away from that. We want to get you out of Google and to the right place as fast as possible. It's a very different model." Fast forward today, Google has faced multiple antitrust charges for abusing its search monopoly power to eliminate competition and promote its own content and services irrespective of merit. More than 30 companies filed public complaints leading to legal proceedings in the European Union, India, Russia, and the United States. Google has been found guilty for proactively casting burdens on competition to Android operating system and Google's own services such as Google Search, Google Shopping, Google Maps, and Google Product Search, and manipulation of general search without transparently informing users. The resulting verdict was $2.7 billion fine for abusing search monopoly domination. Google's position has shifted from search result generator in the early 2000s to content provider and aggregator today. Google's practices have been deemed to have negative impact on consumers and innovation, and with their coming efforts to become a global internet service provider, their history of monopoly abuses is going to become a major concern for the information age. In his book The New Digital World, Eric Schmidt in 2013 described Google as almost nothing short of biological virus that can spread as quickly, efficiently, or aggressively as these technology platforms, and this makes the people who build, control, and use them powerful too. What happened to Google that used to shape the internet and help websites to get discovered? What made Google change from conscientious portal to the World Wide Web to a quick, efficient, and aggressive virus? In the year 2000, Google started monetizing its platform by launching a self-service search advertising program we know as AdWords that charged advertisers on cost per impression basis. Advertisers were paying for each appearance of their ads, no matter if a user clicked on it or not. 2 years later, this model was replaced by cost per click charging scheme, which precisely means taking money for showing content. Another 3 years later, and Google implemented universal search that bridged all categories of search into one stream of results, essentially allowing Google to start inserting links to their own content and services. The Google quickly transitioned from getting people out of Google to make them stay on their websites as long as possible. Why? Simple answer: data. Google realized the more information it can get from its users, the further it can expand its advertising business model. The quality of search became irrelevant. From 2007, Google decides what appears in your search results, not based on your search queries or merits of the content you are looking for, but based on the economic interests of one of the greatest conglomerates in the world. From this day forth, Google is no longer the search engine it was originally created to be. The only problem Google had was that it was never really innovative enough. It couldn't come up with services that could succeed against existing competition, even with the monopoly of the search engine. Thus, it started with a massive chain of acquisitions. One by one, Google merged with other companies based on the strategic importance. From Applied Semantics, it acquired AdSense. and from Overture it got AdWords. Zipdash made it into Google Maps, Neatonic software morphed into Gmail and Google Groups. Moratech was incorporated into Google Talk and Hangouts. There are 163 mergers and acquisitions that all fall under the single umbrella of Alphabet company. None of these are just services on their own, they are tracking outposts. The more web content Google acquires, the wider range of data its dragnet can collect. The ace card up in Google's sleeve, however, is that Google helps to run up to 85% of all known websites with Google Analytics and similar web services acquired from Erkin in 2005. Boosting its marketing solutions offered to businesses, Google managed to spread its tentacles all across the internet to collect more data even from users that don't use Google products at all. The obsession with data at Google has no limit. Even if you go offline, Google is developing capability to track your purchases in physical stores that you might have made because you saw an ad on your phone or laptop. The reason why this is so important is because Google no longer brings you relevant search results but relevant advertisements. Google has switched its position from a service you use to be able to make you a product that Google sells. Nothing that you ever search using Google can be trusted as an objective generation of results. Google chooses what to show you way before you hit enter. It no longer provides you with the best results. It provides you with Google's results. This is extremely important whether you look for current news events or just making ordinary shopping research to save some money. And if that wasn't enough, Google will filter which websites will appear and which won't, even if you directly looked for them, stemming from their current political persuasion. For example, the search giant took a stance of champion fighting against extremism. You might think that it is noble that a private company devotes its own resources to a public cause, but is it really? Unlike a government, private corporation doesn't have a system of checks and balances. Business is checked by free market, but what if it's no longer free after it was hijacked by a single conglomerate? Who decides and on what basis what is and isn't extremist or worth filtering? At which point is Google trying to be so polite that it won't show what's important? Like these search queries that won't suggest you anything incriminating about any politician or personality ever if you search them on Google versus on DuckDuckGo or Yahoo. This is no longer a debate of whether Google can or can't do this as a private company. This is about you, the user of the internet, developed by scientists from all around the world. You, the user, who is being tricked and manipulated by big data analysis on daily basis. There were times when Microsoft used to ridicule and criticize Google for their advertisement-based business model.
Email between a husband and wife or two best friends should be completely personal. But Google crosses the line and goes through every single Gmail.
Until they realize that this is where the money flows, and they'd better learn to do it as well. So now, instead of having a remastered version of Windows 7, which is the best operating system Microsoft ever produced, we have Windows 10 that's riddled with targeted advertisements and invasive tracking policies. Google set a precedence for all tech startups, whatever their product is, that the only way to become dominant is to make their consumers data-generating hotspots. Market diversity is just as important as biodiversity. If one species take over, one way of life becomes more dominant than others to the point its mere presence becomes a threat to other species and the whole ecosystem. Google is a threat to other companies and business models, not because they are big and successful, but because of how they got there and what they do with this position. The new goal of tech corporation is not to become the best in their field, but to be the only one on the market. Creating a clever product that everybody wants is the hard way to do it. Patenting, pricing out, merging, and licensing your competition is the one that will grant you protectionism of the state, which smaller businesses don't have the luxury to have. Google does have alternatives, but it doesn't have a competition, meaning you as a user can choose other products of other companies, but as a small business, if you don't get along with Google, you don't exist. And because we all depend on this ecosystem, we are all subject to the dominant monopoly of Google. This video is uploaded to Google servers because YouTube is the second largest search engine. If it wasn't on YouTube, this video wouldn't exist. I could have posted it to Facebook, but there is no difference in their business models anyway. Other video sharing websites pale in comparison to YouTube. Small to medium-sized businesses simply cannot choose to opt out from Google, and that's a dangerous situation. Facebook is no longer just a social network. Microsoft Windows is no longer just an operating system. Google isn't just a search engine anymore. They are data-generating digital marketing aggregators. If you feel like Google is not living up to your standards, you need to know there are plenty of Google alternatives that you as a user can choose from. As my default search engine, I use DuckDuckGo, which has nice user interface and doesn't track your search at all. For web browser, I always go for Firefox, which is developed to respect your digital freedoms without intrusive policies. If you want something more lightweight, I highly recommend Brave, which blocks all trackers by default. If you decide to give Firefox a go, install uBlock Origin and Privacy Badger to block social media trackers, including Google targeted advertisements. For email, my favorite is ProtonMail, which gives you state-of-the-art user experience on top of true end-to-end encryption for best security and privacy. There are other similar options if violet is not your color. If you keep your identity separate from your browsing, you can prevent Google from connecting the dots. You can use Tor or simply any other web browser with no history just for your online accounts, and then use Firefox or Brave for day-to-day browsing. There is infinite amount of possibilities, and I'm going to cover some of the best ways in the near future on my channel. The less opportunities you give Google to track you, the more objectively and neutrally exposed you'll be to web content. You'll jailbreak from the bubble that Google created around what its algorithms told them would sell you the most. If you want relevant search results based on your queries and merit of the web content, and not your browsing history, private emails, and anything else that Google has on you, you should at least know that Google is not the place to go to. You are free to make your own choice, but I think economic diversity and protection of our digital privacy are two crucial pillars on which free and successful society should be based on, and that's why you need to stop using Google. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope that you like this piece on Google's monopoly power. It is very important that we talk about this, so please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also share and like the video and subscribe for more content like this in the future.